भक्ति जय राधा गोविंद राधा गोविंद राधे जय राधा गोविंद राधा गोविंद राधे जय राधा गोविंद राधा गोविंद राधे जय राधा गोविंद राधा गोविंद राधे
ఈ శివునికి భక్తి సిద్ధాంత సరస్వతి గోలోకానికి అనంతపురి వైష్ణవులకి హిమాచల్ దశాస్త్రాలకి ప్రేమ సకోటి కృష్ణ చైతన్య ప్రభు నిత్యానంద శ్రీ అద్వైత గదాధర వాసవి గౌతములకి శ్రీ శ్రీ రాధాకృష్ణ గోవింద సాముంద రాధాకుండ గిరి గోవర్ధన్కి రజభూమి వృందావన గంధరావళి ధామ్కి మాయాపురం దీప్ ధామ్కి హరే కృష్ణ మహామండలంకి ప్రధాన సంగీత యజ్ఞకి పతిత ప్రావృత్తుల ప్రభుపాద్కి పతిత ప్రావృత్తుల గురుదేవుకి గురు పరంపరాకి ఇంద్రామణికి దక్షిణదేవి గురుజీ మహారాజుకి సమవేత భక్త వృద్ధకి శ్రీ శ్రీ రాధాకృష్ణ టెంపుల్ ప్రాజెక్టుకి శ్రీల ప్రభుపాదకి యశోదనందన్ దామోదర్ భగవాన్కి కార్తీక్ పూజాకి దామోదర్ పంత్కి నిత్తాయి గౌర ప్రేమల all glories to the devotees, all glories to the devotees, all glories to the devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories to the Guru and Sri Gauranga, all glories to the Prabhupada. जय जगन्नाथ, जय बलदेव, जय सुभद्रा महाराज की, श्री श्री विदाई गौर सुंदर की, श्री प्रभुपाद की, श्री गुरुदेव की विदाई गौर सुंदर की।
chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Further Enquiries by Vidura. Chapter 8, Manifestation of Brahma from Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. Maitreya Uvacha Sat Sevaniyo Bhatapuru Vamsho Yallokapalo Bhagavat Pradhanah Babhuvite Ha Jita Kirtimana Pade Pade Nutanasyasi Adikshanam. The great sage Maitreya Muni said to Vidura, the royal dynasty of King Kuru is worthy to serve the pure devotees because all the descendants of that family are devoted to the personality of Godhead. You are also born in that family, and it is wonderful that because of your attempt, the transcendental pastimes of the Lord are becoming newer and newer at every moment. Purport: the great sage Maitreya thanked Vidura and praised him by reference to his family glories. The Kuru dynasty was full of devotees of the personality of Godhead and was therefore glorious. Because they were not attached to impersonal Brahman or to the localized Paramatma, but were directly attached to Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, they were worthy to render service to the Lord and his pure devotees. Because Vidura was one of the descendants of that family, naturally he engaged in spreading wide the new ever glories of the Lord. Maitreya felt happy to have such glorious company as Vidura. They considered the company of Vidura most desirable because such association can accelerate one's dormant propensities for devotional service. So, not only is the speaker feeling great that he is being inquired from and he's got the right to speak and he's great, etc. He doesn't think like that. He rather thinks, Maitreya Muni is rather feeling, you have engaged me in speaking about the Supreme Lord, so I thank you very much for that. And secondly, speaking to somebody like you is from such a great dynasty, such a great parampara. Is my fortune that I got your association that I can discuss Krishna with you. So you see that how a person, even though he is speaking Bhagavatam, can free himself of possessive mentality, a mentality of thinking that he is the doer and you are the receiver of that benefit. No. Actually, we are all given a chance to sit and discuss Bhagavatam. Unless you get the mercy of the Lord, the mercy of the pure devotee, it is not going to be possible. Not everybody gets a chance to read Bhagavatam. Many will get a chance to read Vedas and do that and this and all the ritualistic stuff. But to read Bhagavatam and be in the company of devotees and hear about pure devotional service and glorify Krishna in Harinam Sankirtan is the very choicest of blessings that can come upon you. So Maitreya Muni is recognizing that and is very grateful for that. Don't take the mercy of the Lord to be granted and don't take it for granted. Acknowledge it every time. Feel that you are a recipient of that mercy, otherwise it wouldn't have been possible. In this way, we'll always remain in Krishna consciousness. Gratefulness expressed to Krishna. When you take prasadam, when you get a chance to speak, you get some benefit, whatever, we should be reminded of the Lord's presence and his doing. That is Krishna consciousness. And Maitreya is exhibiting that. So, aham rinam shulla sukhaya dukkham mahad gatanam viramaya tasya pravartaye bhagavatam puranam yat aha sakshat bhagavan rishipya. Let me now begin speaking on the Bhagavata Purana, which was directly spoken by the great sages, to the great sages by the personality of Godhead, for the benefit of those who are entangled in extreme miseries for the sake of very little pleasure. Yeah, that is interesting. Mahadgatanam viramaya tasya. So ham dhanam kshulla sukhaya dukkham. Yes. Purport: the great sage Maitreya proposed to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam because it was especially compiled and traditionally comes down in the disciplic succession for the solution of all the problems of human society. Only one who is fortunate can have the opportunity to hear Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of pure devotees of the Lord. Under the spell of material energy, the living entities are entrapped in the bondage of many difficulties simply for the sake of a little bit of material happiness. They engage in fruitive activities not knowing the implications. Under the false impression that the body is the self, the living entities foolishly relate to so many false attachments. They think that they can engage with materialistic paraphernalia forever. This gross misconception of life is so strong that a person suffers continually, life after life, under the external energy of the Lord. If one comes in contact with the book Bhagavatam, as well as the devotee Bhagavatam, who knows what the Bhagavatam is, then such a fortunate man gets out of the material entanglement. Therefore, Sri Maitreya Muni, out of compassion for the great suffering men in the world, proposes to speak on the Srimad Bhagavatam first and last. Asinam urvyam bhagavantamadhyam sankarshanam devamakunta sattvam vivitsavas tattvam atah parasya kumara mukhaya munayo anvaprichan. Some time ago, being inquisitive to know, Sanat Kumara, the chief of the boy saints accompanied by other great sages, inquired exactly like you about the truths regarding Vasudeva, the Supreme, from Lord Sankarsana, who is seated at the bottom of the universe. Purport. This is in clarification of the statement that the Lord spoke directly on the Srimad Bhagavatam. When and unto whom the Bhagavatam was spoken is explained herewith. Questions similar to those put forward by Vidura were asked by great sages like Sanat Kumara and Sankarshana. The plenary expansion of the Supreme Lord Vasudeva answered them. So this we have already read in the second canto, how Sankarshana is approached by the four Kumaras. Swammeva dishnyam bahumanayantam yadvasudevabhividam amannanti pratyaktrita kshama kshambuja koshamishad unmilayantam vibhudhaya yaya. At the time Lord Sankarshana was meditating upon his Supreme Lord, whom the learned esteem as Lord Vasudeva. But for the sake of the advancement of the great learned sages, he slightly opened his lotus-like eyes and began to speak. Swardhuni udhardhirai swajata kalapai upasprishantas charanopadhanam padmam yat archanti ahiraja kanyaha sapremanana balibirvararthaha. The sages came from the highest planets down to the lower region through the water of the Ganges, and therefore the hair on their heads was wet. They touched the lotus feet of the Lord, which are worshipped various paraphernalia, but the daughters of the serpent king, when they desire good husbands. Purport. The Ganges water flows directly from the lotus feet of Vishnu, and its course runs from the highest planet of the universe down to the lowest. The sages came down from Satyaloka by taking advantage of the flowing water, a process of transportation made possible by the power of mystic yoga. If a river flows thousands and thousands of miles, a perfect yogi can at once transport himself from one place to another simply by dipping in this water. The Ganges is the only celestial river which flows throughout the universe, and great sages travel all over the universe via the sacred river. The statement that their hair was wet indicates that it was directly moistened by the water originating from the lotus feet of Vishnu, the Ganges. Whoever touches the water of the Ganges to his head surely touches the lotus feet of the Lord directly and can become free from all effects of sinful acts. If after taking a bath in the Ganges or being washed of all sins, a man guards himself against committing further sinful acts, then certainly he is delivered. But if he again takes up sinful activities, His bath in the Ganges is as good as that of the elephant who nicely takes his bath in a river and later spoils the whole thing by covering himself with the dust on the land. So the comparison is made here. Chalayati Vikramane Bhalimadbhuta Vamana Padanaka Neera Janita Janapavana Keshavadritta Vamana Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Where it is mentioned that Vamana stretched his feet beyond the three worlds and right up to Brahmaloka, and Brahma washed his feet there. And that holy flow, Ganges, Padanaka Neera Janita Janapavana, purifies everybody in this universe. Right from the Alakananda in the heavenly planets, right down to the earthly planet where it flows as Ganga. All of the places, Ganga is purifying and it's emanating from the lotus feet of the Lord. Right? That's mentioned here. Text 6, Muhur Grananto Vachasanuraga Skalat Padena Asya Kritani Tatnyaha Kirita Sahasra Mani Praveka Pradyotitotama Fana Sahasram. The four Kumaras headed by Sanat Kumara, who all knew the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, glorified the Lord in rhythmic accents with selected words full of affection and love. At that time, Lord Sankarsana, with his thousands of hoods, began to radiate an effulgence from the glowing stones on his head. Purport: the Lord is sometimes addressed as Uttama Shloka, which means one who is worshipped with selected words by devotees. A profusion of such selected words comes from a devotee who is already absorbed in affection and love for the devotional service of the Lord. There are many instances in which even a small boy who was a great devotee of the Lord, could offer excellent prayers in the choicest words for glorification of the pastimes of the Lord. In other words, without the development of fine affection and love, one cannot offer prayers to the Lord very suitably. Yes, prayers offered by devotees are very different from prayers offered by those who seek material pleasure and material favors from the Lord. So, prayers offered by the devotees, you'll see there is dainyata, great humility and feeling of deserving the Lord's mercy. So there are various types of prayers classified. So prayers are also offered to the Lord for some satisfaction of one's material desire also. Akama sarvakama va mokshakama udaradi thivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Somebody may be a devotee and still he may need some material things. Or somebody may not be a devotee but comes to the Lord. Four kinds of devotees worship me. Four kinds of people approach me, Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita. Artho jignasur artarthi, jnani cha bharatar shabha. So somebody may approach the Lord who is absolute truth even with a material desire and he can get purified. He also offers prayers. Somebody can approach the Lord with a desire for something material, although he doesn't want it actually, but he's forced to, but he's a devotee. Then there is a devotee who is actually approaching the Lord. Nothing else I need from you, only I need your mercy to continue in devotional service. And then there are devotees who offer prayers like Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, with such great humility that it breaks the heart of the Lord himself. Dhainya chada tumi tumare dhainya fate muramana. Please give up your humility, Lord Chaitanya said to Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. Your humility is breaking my heart. Right? So there are various sorts of prayers, but Prabhupada is saying that prayer, which is full of love and affection for the Lord, that is very sweet. Proktam kilaitat bhagavattamena nivriti dharma bhiratayatena sanat kumaraya chastaha prashtaha sankhya anga dhritavrataya. Lord Sankarsana thus spoke the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam to the great sage Sanat Kumara, who had already taken the vow of renunciation. Sanat Kumara also, in return, then inquired of by Sankhya Muni, explained Srimad Bhagavatam as he had heard it from Sankarsana. Sanat Kumara also in his turn, when inquired of by Sankhya Muni, explained Srimad Bhagavatam as he had heard it from Sankarsana. Purport: This is the way of the Parampara system, although Sanat Kumara, the well-known great saintly Kumara, was in the perfect stage of life. Still, he heard the message of Srimad Bhagavatam from Lord Sankarsana. Similarly, when he was questioned by Sankhya Rishi, he spoke to him the same message he had heard from Lord Sankarsana. In other words, unless one hears from the upper authority, one cannot become a preacher. In other words, unless one hears from the proper authority, one cannot become a preacher. In devotional service, therefore, two items out of the nine, namely hearing and chanting, are most important. Without hearing nicely, one cannot preach the message of Vedic knowledge. Oh, very good. Hearing is important. Not that only a reading is important, assimilating knowledge is important. Hearing. Hearing induces, when you hear, it induces inspiration from the Lord in the heart. Of course, reading also gives inspiration, but particularly hearing from another person brings a lot more enlightenment and deeper perspectives on the subject at hand. Sankhyayanah paramahamsya mukhyo vivakshmano bhagavat vibhutihi jagadaso asmat kurave anvitaya parasharayayatha brihaspateschaha. The great sage Sankhayana was a chief amongst the transcendentalists, and when he was describing the glories of the Lord, in terms of Srimad Bhagavatam, it so happened that my spiritual master Parashara and Brihaspati both heard him. Provacha mahyam sadayalu rukto munihi pulastyena puranam adyam soham tavaitat kadayaminasa shraddhavan nityam anuvrataya. The great sage Parashara, as aforementioned, being so advised by the great sage Pulastya, spoke unto me the foremost of the Puranas, Bhagavatam. I shall also describe this before you, my dear son, in terms of my hearing, because you're always my faithful follower. Purport: The great sage of the name Pulastya is the father of all demoniac descendants. Once upon a time, Parashara began a sacrifice in which all the demons were to be burnt to death because his father had been killed and devoured by one of them. The great sage Vasishta Muni arrived at the sacrifice and requested Parashara to stop the deadly action. Because of Vasishta's position and respect in the community of sages, Parashara could not deny the request. Parashara having stopped the sacrifice, Pulastya, the father of the demons, appreciated his Brahminical temperament and gave the blessing that in the future he would be a great speaker on the Vedic literatures called the Puranas, the supplements of the Vedas. Parashara's action was appreciated by Pulastya because Parashara had forgiven the demons out of his Brahminical power of forgiveness. Parashara was able to demolish all the demons in the sacrifice, but he considered demons are so made that they devour living creatures, men and animals. But why on that account should I withdraw my Brahminical position of forgiveness? As the great speaker of the Puranas, Parashara first of all spoke on the Srimad Bhagavata Purana because it is the foremost of all the Puranas. Maitreya Muni desired to narrate the same Bhagavatam he had heard from Parashara and Vidura was qualified to hear it because of his faithfulness and his following the instructions received from superiors. The Srimad Bhagavatam was being narrated from time immemorial in the disciplic succession, even before the time of Vyasadeva. The so-called factually the Puranas existed from the time immemorial because before all historical calculations by the mundaners and speculators philosophers. Om Tat Sat. Om Adhyana Imrandasya Dhyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, if you have any comment or question, Um, we will try to answer that to the best of the extent. If not, we will depart. I have a meeting to attend to as soon as possible. Right. I think there's no question today because everybody is in a different mood. And I will take advantage of that and depart. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai.